Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. This is Khurram Zahir Chishti, an NLP coach, and I'm again here and bringing to you my review of a very interesting book which I saw, and it's about a world famous personality, Einstein Innovation. It is written by Virender Kapoor, who himself is a IIT Bombay graduate and was a director of that institute. And the interesting part is that this video is not with respect to his so many achievement, scientific achievement that he did. We all know about his scientific achievement. In fact, so much so that his name Einstein has become acronym of intelligence. If somebody's intelligence, we say as intelligent as Einstein. It becomes so we all know about it. So why this book I've selected? Because it throws some aspects which majority of us may not be aware of his personality, and that's why this book is of importance, and that's why I've selected this book for review. Now to begin with they about his aspects. First of all, he was a great um, follower and a player and a fan of music. He knew how to play violin, which is not a very easy instrument, very well. He played for official orchestras, he played for his friends, and he was very well at that. Now his mother himself, when she got to know he's having educational difficulties, she herself was a piano like practitioner. She used to play piano very well, and she wanted him to take interest in music, and she taught him piano, and later on he developed an interest for violin playing and music. Number two, he always emphasized imagination. He often used to say imagination is more important than knowledge. Often the scientific discoveries are more on observation. On Newton, the apple fell down and he discovered gravity. It's usually from observation. Galileo, again observation, telescopes, observations. Einstein, imagination. He had a peculiar interest in imagination, and he would go on to imagine the imagination, and then imagine the imaginations of imaginations. He had that knack in him. Or next, he was very much into altruistic and social activities, particularly when he migrated to USA, when he was not having a good time in Germany due to the Nazis. He went to USA and then was instrumental in getting many of the Germans, many of the Germans and the Jews out, and he used his status as a celebrity to get people out. In fact, so much so that though he was the person who signed off on the letter written to President Roosevelt to start the research on nuclear energy, but he was never part of the Manhattan Project. He was referred to in case some difficulties came, but he himself directly never had a part. And particularly, he was not very supportive of the use of the nuclear energy for making the A bombs. So much so that officially on 19th August 1946, 19th August 1946, a New York Times article clearly stated that Einstein deplored the use of atomic bombs. He made good use of his celebrity status and used all the money that he earned for philanthropy, and even donated all his money which he earned from the Nobel Prize money to give to charity. And he would give charity, he would help the Germans, he would help his countrymen, he would help his other community, and just to ensure okay, they don't suffer. Another aspect of his personality, he was very humble and down to earth, and he could be approached by anyone. Anyone means from peon to president to once a seventh year grade student approached him to do help him do her homework, which he helped her in his neighborhood. He had a very simple lifestyle. He would use a cycle rather than a car, went for long walks, and liked sailing in a very ordinary sort of a boat, in fact, a boat that got some accidents as well. And he would rather spend time with his pets, cats, dogs, rather than being in the fanfare, being in the limelight, being in the media. Though he was one of the very few scientists that had a celebrity status. Usually, scientists and academicians don't have a celebrity status, but he did. He did have a celebrity status. And his simple lifestyle could be understood by the fact that all he cared for was a table, a chair, and a bowl of fruits. He never bothered about his looks, and often his hair would be uncombed. He would never comb his hair. And then he would often say that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. He never cared about money, and you can it's I was laughing at it. In fact, he used a $1,500 check, which was a great amount that time, as a bookmark, and later on he lost it. And the salary that he demanded as a professor of physics in Princeton University was USD $3,000 only. And then the dean told him, no, the minimum is $10,000. And then he was put on $10,000, which obviously, as per scales today, is a lot. But he was just bare minimum, he was fine with it. He had a very close knit of few friends with whom he played violin, cracked jokes, hung out, but his actual friends were very few. He never actually sought company of influential people and politicians, and he was never like that. He was married twice. First to a lady who was herself a scientist and 4 years elder than him. And that marriage did not work out. Then later he married his cousin Elisa, who was his cousin, and she was very impressed with the way he used to play violin. And he emphasized the fact that how we should do collaboration with your friends. And in fact, he used to often quote Newton, who said that if you want to see further, then you have to be standing on top of giants. His And I would like to quote a, a phrase from this book, which Dr. Kapoor uses. Okay, in today's world, you can even program programs to program programs. Let me repeat. You can even program programs to program programs. And it's very well relevant to the current AI world that we live in. And he had like his hobby. He would say okay, if you want to develop this habit of imagination, you have to try different hobbies like cooking, dancing, gymnastics. Go into other realms of life, and always know that there is always the functionality of a thing is not unique. You can just not use hammer to hammer nails. It can be used for various things. You can't just use a pen just for writing. If you think about it and be creative, there are many things you can do with a pen even. Also, he emphasized that daydreaming is very important, and there are only two things. One is the working memory, and the other is daydreaming. Provided you use daydreaming for effective to come up with effective solutions to your problem. You have a solution, you have a problem, think about it, meditate over it, daydream about it, and your subconscious will come up with an answer. In fact, Einstein was particularly known for taking long walks, and during the long walks, he would think about his problems and mostly he would come up with an answer. Or else, his wife used to comment that he was working on some issue, he would get stuck, he would just take his mind off, play violin for some time, and then come up, and then he would have a solution for the problem. And in fact, that Einstein used to comment that he understood these problems as matter of musical hierarchies. He understood physics in terms of the musical structures. And that's why his thinking, his intelligence was in multi-dimensional. It was not single dimensional. And he once told a journalist that were bored due to inspiration and intuition. And of course, he often emphasized and had a great sense of humor, so much so that he once was riding a taxi and he forgot his own address. Then he told the taxi driver, okay, do you know where Einstein lives? That he was a famous guy that time. The driver said, yes, I know. He said, okay, fine, take me to his home. So he often had a great sense of humor. In fact, he used to say, if you want to have a sense of humor, you that means you are intelligent, because to have a proper sense of humor you need to have lateral thinking, and that's where the importance of intelligent humor comes into play. And people also, let me tell you, okay, post his death, his brain was taken out from his body for study by scientists, by neurologists. They sliced it into 240 pieces, and there were some very important discoveries that were made. Particularly, there were some parts of his brain which were missing, and actually these were the ones which the scientists thought allowed the neurons to communicate more effectively, and the two hemispheres had better connections than ordinary people. See, it is, there were aspects of, we often think he was infallible, he was never wrong, he achieved all he could, but there were aspects in which he was, some of his work were left unfinished, not because of his death but because he could not come up with an answer. Like, for example, he was working on the superconductivity, gravitational waves, black holes, a unified theory of electroweak theory. He was working on it, but he could not come up with an answer. So much so that he even have a patent for a refrigerator, but obviously that was not commercially viable. It was not commercially made. So I would like to end with a particular piece of news which came on his death. Like, like after his death, the day after his death, Washington Post carried a sketch of the universe and had a arrow pointing to the earth with a caption, Einstein stayed here. So people, these were, hope some of the aspects of his personality, and not as a scientist but a human, were informative, and some things, lessons that we can learn to implement. Thank you very much.